partner presentation with Cablecast Community Media. My name is Mike Wassenaar. I'm the president and CEO of the Alliance for Community Media, and I want to welcome you to one of our partner presentations, which are meant to help connect members and other folks in community media around the country with products and solutions that help them better achieve their mission. We'll have more partner presentations throughout the course of the fall. Go to our website at allcommunitymedia.org to find out more about these free presentations that are available with our partners here in 2020. On today's partner presentation, we'll talk with Cablecast Community Media, which has a long history and tradition of working with ACM members and with community media organizations across the country. And actually, their history is they came out of the PEG industry as well, with some of their founders actually being alumni of PEG operation at a high school channel in Bloomington, Minnesota. We'll be hearing from them about ways that you can give residents what they need to succeed on today's presentation. We are doing this in a Zoom webinar format, so please go ahead and use the Q&A function as you have questions for our friends at Cablecast over the course of the next hour. And now let me turn things over to Steve Israelski, who is going to be leading our discussion with Cablecast. Steve, take it away.
Steve, you're muted still.
I was muted. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for hosting and putting these things on. And we are real happy to be here. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. It's not going to be, we're going to do a presentation, but we're going to do it with the help of a few of our customers who are using the system. So I want to introduce Bill Jennings from Bedford, New Hampshire, Colleen Richardson, also from Bedford, New Hampshire, and Kayla Creamer from Billerica, and they will be joining us and presenting as well. And then we have Michelle with us, Michelle Alomaratti, who is on the Cablecast team, and Ray Tiley, who's our lead developer and is mainly here to answer questions at the end, things that are technical in nature. So with that, let's get going. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Oh, I'll start at the beginning of the presentation here. So actually, let me go full screen. Okay, essential tools to reach your community in 2020. Well, 2020 certainly has been a crazy year for the country and also for community media and with its challenges. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. A little bit about us is, as Mike mentioned, we, this Cablecast Community Media, which is a division of Tightrope Media Systems, was started by two guys, Andy Starks and JJ Parker, who learned TV production in a junior high in Bloomington, Minnesota. And then actually somewhere in between high school and college started this company. And so we've been in the business for a very long time, certainly over 20 years. In terms of our staff, most of us are from the community media field or have worked there at some point in our careers. I think 75% of us are veterans of community media. And so we have a very, very high appreciation for what all of you do and what many of us still do on the side. And as we all know, it is now more important than ever. I mean, we saw that immediately with the number of people that were streaming their meetings live and offering them on demand and using Zoom, and we actually responded in a few ways, which we'll talk about. But I mean, just anecdotally, we have hosted on our Reflect platform meetings of 3,500 people, 4,000 people. When people when school boards start discussing whether they're going to start school again and everybody can only attend virtually, it tends to generate a lot of demand. So our our mission as a company is to help you reach your community and to do it as efficiently as possible so that you guys can focus on the content. I'm showing an example here on the right from Bedford, New Hampshire, from their graduation. As Bill explained to me, they put this together with members of the band who could then play Pomp and Circumstance individually and then collectively here through the magic of television as an orchestra for the graduation ceremony. So a couple of things we did and we're working on, but made sure we had ready for people who needed it right away, is we added the ability to upload content from anywhere. So you can be at home, you could be at work, you could be on vacation, you could be wherever. And whether you're at a desktop or whether you're using a mobile device, you can upload content directly into Cablecast and then schedule it. You can also use Cablecast to schedule your content either at a computer or from your phone. So this is a pretty important thing. I'll share this at the end, but we have links to a lot of the things that I'm talking about here, that if you're interested, I can share this page with you and then you could click on a link and go there and read all about it. So we also enable network stream contribution now. You can pull in an RTP stream, RTMP, RTSP, HLS, and you can pull them all in and schedule them just like you can any other source. This is going directly into the video server, but you schedule it just like any input into your routing switcher. And so that's very, very handy for operating remotely. So another thing that we did is, this also includes YouTube Live and Facebook Live, which you can pull directly into your video server as a stream. Another thing that we did, and this is something that when literally the shit hit the fan, Ray and his team quickly spun up a RTMP server to enable people to go directly from the Zoom meeting to air. And they set it up in a way so that you can take that Zoom meeting, go directly into the Cablecast server to air, but then also send it from that RTMP server, which we call ScreenLeave Live, directly to YouTube and to Facebook Live. So it works for Zoom meetings, and then a combination of ScreenLeave Live and OBS will also enable you to, it could be a Cisco WebEx meeting, Microsoft Teams, Skype, Google Hangouts. It will take all of those types of meetings and allow you to broadcast them onto your channel. And then this ScreenLeave Live RTMP server will also allow you and enable you to take video from when the world gets back to normal, from a ball field or a gym or a council chamber, directly into your video server as well. So hot off the presses, we released this last week. Cablecast now supports NDI, which is New Tech's network device interface, which is becoming more and more popular, and which you can use to take a signal directly from any NDI device, of course, all the New Tech switchers, but directly from New Tech or any other NDI device directly into your Cablecast video server. And again, it becomes like a normal, any other source. It gets treated just like it was coming from your routing switcher, but it's going directly into the server. So that's new and pretty exciting. A lot of people are looking forward to that. Closed captioning, we support closed captioning. We are platform agnostic in that we support all of the major players like EEG, Link Electronics, and Enco. And we have a partnership agreement with Enco. we are able to get you a price break. We're working on integrating more closely with their software. Um, and um, and the huge part of the price advantage is that they charge separately for the ability to do live captioning versus file-based captioning. And our agreement with them allows us to sell, or actually any third-party retailer that works with Enco can sell a Cablecast part number that includes both live and file-based encoding for the same price as what they normally charge for just the live encoding. So 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 that's a very good thing, and happy to get you more information on that at the end of the webinar. We also now support Sidecar Files in Cablecast. And that is also brand new. Another thing that we recently added to the system is the ability to select your in points and your out points directly on the video um, in the show record, as long as it's a MPEG-4 or H.264 video. You can mark your in point and your out point directly on the show, and it populates the in points and out points in the show record. So that's pretty cool. But what's even better is you can basically link it to different points in the same video file. So if you were doing a council meeting, for example, and you've got a 10-minute break, an hour in, and another 10-minute break, 2 hours in, you can basically point to the same file and create 3 different sections, eliminating the 2 breaks, and do that all virtually right here with this brand new trimming feature. So that is it for now. I'm going to hand this over to Kayla Kramer, who is with Billerica Access. And she's going to talk about some of the ways that she uses our software to schedule the channel. So off to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Kayla, you're up.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've used some of Tightrope's automation tools, such as the save searches and the auto schedule tool, to streamline my workflow a bit. And I'm going to be kind of throwing a lot of information at everybody in a short period of time. So if you have questions at the end, I'll put my email in the chat and you can feel free to reach out to me. So basically, there are a few important things that I've had to do to set this all up. I think, like a lot of you at other stations, I wear a lot of hats normally when I'm in the office, and right now I'm wearing even more of them. I'm covering all the government meetings. I'm helping our producers do shoots on Zoom. I've decided to do my own show in the middle of all this, plus there are a lot of other tasks, and so I really needed to be able to automate the workflow to free me up to do some of those other things. And when I'm in the office, I'm still doing a lot of things, so I already kind of had this stuff in place, and I'm really glad that I did now, because I don't know how I would have been doing all this stuff if I hadn't had this workflow in place. So I'm going to dive right into it. I'm going to use as an example one of the shows that we do called Gab Fest. And Gab Fest is a weekly show. So basically, I've set up a whole bunch of rules in the auto schedule tool to schedule out a whole bunch of runs of some of our recurring shows. So anything that I get on a weekly, a bi-weekly, or monthly basis, I know I'm going to get that show. So I've got it scheduled out in advance, and then the auto schedule tool will automatically replace the existing file with the newest file when I get a new show next week. These guys film every week. So if we go into the show record for the show that we just did yesterday, there are a couple things that I want to point out that I've also set up that have helped me with the save searches. And these are also going to tie into how we use save searches on our public pages, as well as the OTT apps such as Roku and Apple TV. So it's a pretty standard show record, but then I'm utilizing allowed air dates, and that's going to come into play when I explain how I've set up the rules for the auto schedule. And then I'm also using custom fields. And one of the custom fields you can see here is this BATV member or staff produced field, and that's either a yes or a no. We have a lot of programs that come from people outside of the community or other access centers that are not produced by us. And so on our public pages, we don't necessarily want to highlight that if that's not a show that one of our producers did. So that's where this field is important, because I'm using this to filter that stuff out, and I'll get into that a bit more in a moment. But those are two of kind of the important things that I wanted to point out before I go into the auto schedule tool. Everything else is pretty much your standard. So if we go into the tools here, actually, before I go to that, I have to explain saved searches. So if we go into a show search, and you can see here Gab Fest already showed up because I just searched for that. What I do is I set up a saved search for all of our recurring shows. So you just click Save Search. I'm not going to save this because I already have a saved search for Gab Fest, but you would want to put in whatever the name of the program is. In this case, I would put Gab Fest and click OK. And then now if we go to our saved searches, you can see I have a whole list of various programs that have been saved for a variety of different things, from the auto schedule tool to our public pages and how those are set up. So if I look at GabFest, you can see here it also says this search is used on the following public site, BATV Public VOD. And I'll go into that a bit more, but I want to point that out now. If we go now into the tools, into the auto schedule, you can see that I have a lot of programs in here, and they're scheduled for all of the channels. I've also got, for GabFest, you'll see these guys typically record at 12:30 live out of our mini studio on Thursdays. They're not doing that right now because we can't have people in the facility, so we're recording it on Wednesdays on Zoom, and we're airing it at their regular time that they would go live on Thursdays, along with a few additional air times. So you can see I actually have a rule here for when they would go live on the public channel. And I also have a record rule here because I back up a recording to our server as well as what they're recording into the TriCaster in the mini studio. But in this situation, I'm going to just focus on the reruns, which are the additional runs that this show would air. So if I click on details, you can see here all of the days and times that this show is scheduled to run. It runs on the public channel, and it's filling it with the top search results. So that's where the saved searches come into place. You can also use a single show ID, but because I'm scheduling these out in advance and letting them just get replaced with the newest show, I'm using the top search result, and it goes back as well to the allowed air dates that I'm setting. And so part of the reason that I'm using those allowed air dates, we have another program, it's a church that we get called Bay State Baptist. And that producer is giving me services, I think at this point we're maybe 5 or 6 weeks ahead of what's actually airing. So if I go into the latest service that I just got from this past Sunday, you can see that that's not actually allowed to air until October 19th, and it's only allowed to air for that week starting at October 19th. So basically, I can schedule out shows weeks or months in advance if somebody's giving me shows out that far, and the auto schedule tool will know when to air those programs and only air them during those dates. So that allows me to schedule this for weeks in advance, which is really helpful. So that's kind of a real quick and dirty explanation of how I'm using the auto schedule tool. But I mentioned that the save searches also come into play for our public channels. So if I go into the system settings and look at our public channel public site, under the home page, you can see that we're using a bunch of different galleries here. So the first gallery that shows up is a search that's just the public channel member produced programs. We do the top newest 12 shows produced by our members, and that's a saved search. And then we also like to highlight some of our regularly recurring shows here, such as Cosmos Journal, Our Town Live. We've got Gab Fest in here, and those are all using the saved searches to pull that content into the VOD public page. It also ties into ScreenWeave. If you're using ScreenWeave to play your content out over Roku or Apple TV, this is pretty much set it and forget it. To be totally honest, I set this up maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, and I have not been in here since because I haven't had to come in here. Everything is pretty much self-sufficient. So if we go into edit content, you'll see how we're using saved searches. We have a saved search for each of the channels that is that same search that's highlighting the top 12 programs on each of our VOD pages. And you'll notice that we don't have any other searches here. And the reason for that is because there are smart collections, and we've actually found that the smart collections do a pretty good job of creating collections that make it easy for people to find our content without necessarily having to add a whole bunch of saved searches to that as well. So like I said, this has been set up, and I have not come back in here since, except for last night to refresh myself on this to be able to talk about it today. Same thing with the auto schedule tool. Now, I know it probably looks like there's a lot of stuff going on here, and there is. There's a little bit of setup that's required at the beginning, but I really don't have to do anything now that these are set up. It's really just making sure that I fill out the appropriate fields in the show records when I set up a new show. The other thing I really like about this is the way I used to kind of auto schedule programming was, before this existed, was using the batch functions, which it's now a depreciated function, but I would actually create a placeholder show ID, which didn't have a file attached to it, and I would auto schedule that ID for that show out for 12 months at a time, and then as I got new shows, I would do a find and replace on that ID with the new show record. The auto schedule tool has really simplified this. And it's also made it really easy. So say that producer who does Bay State Baptist decides 3 weeks into the year that he no longer is going to produce that program, and so we're not going to be airing that service anymore. The old way I was doing this, I would have to go in and manually remove each run of that placeholder ID that was scheduled for the year. This way, if somebody came in and said to me, we're not going to air our show anymore for whatever reason, I can go into the details and I can actually hit delete here, and it'll clear out all the runs from that date forward in one click. And it makes it really easy to make changes. So it's actually worked out really well when we have some short-term programs coming in. Like right now, the Council on Aging is giving us a whole bunch of exercise videos and those sorts of things, like this 60-plus strength training video. It airs on the same days and times every week because this is a program they would normally do physically at the COA, and they can't right now. They're giving us a show that their instructor has created, and we're airing it. We're trying to keep the schedule consistent so that seniors can rely on that scheduling and know that if they turn to the public channel at 11 a.m. on Mondays, they're going to find this show. But at some point when they go back to being able to do things in person, they may decide that they're not going to want to air this program anymore, and I can very easily go remove it. So I think that covers everything. Like I said, real quick explanation. I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there, so if anybody has any questions on how I'm doing this, I'll put my email address in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out to me. If there's time at the end, I'm happy to answer questions as well. So with that, I'm going to throw it back to Steve now, I believe, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I don't know if Steve is still there. Oh, there he is.
Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I boiled it down as quick as I could.
I had to go turn down the heater.
Sorry.
No, okay, well, wonderful. Thanks so much, Kayla. So now let's see. I want to turn it over to Bill Jennings and Colleen Richardson, and who are going to talk about government meetings. And so rather than jumping back to my one slide announcing them, let's just take it away, Bill.
Thanks, Steve. Does everybody have that screen?
I see you, yep.
All right, excellent. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Bill Jennings. I'm the station manager, and Colleen will be joining us momentarily. She is the assistant station manager. And what you have up in front of you right now is actually our website. And if this looks very official and looks municipality-like, it is, because we are actually a town department. We are not a nonprofit organization. And so we have to work within the parameters of the website that they have. So you'll see some of the stuff that's surrounding this is obviously reflective of the town of Bedford. Once you click and get into our website, this is what you're going to see. And of course, what we all try to do is make it as easy as possible for the end user to have accessibility to watch live and certainly to watch on demand. And particularly during this pandemic, it's become even more crucial. So what we have done with our webpage here is allow people to quickly go into our public, our government, and our educational channel. And for those that didn't know, we also have an HD channel, and we are a Comcast franchisee, if I could call it that. And that went online for us back in December of 2019. We also stream over our Facebook page, and we also have a BCTV YouTube channel. Now, if anybody, what we're going to get into and what I'm going to be focusing on is something that has earned us a lot of points. We've been doing chapter marketing for a number of years, but let me quickly show you the whole process. So if somebody wants to get into our government channel on demand, they're going to come to this particular page. And right now, this is all being driven by our Cablecast system. You can go down and you can see a number of different meetings that you can click on there, the thumbnail, and get to that particular meeting. Or in this case here, because I want a town council meeting, I type in town council. And you got to type it correctly. That's the end user. I can hit search. And this is the meeting here from last night that I want to take a look at. I click on it. What I want everybody to notice right now is everything about that meeting is right there. We call it one-stop shopping. You have the agenda, and on this agenda, you see a lot of hot links. And these can quickly get you to the supporting documentation that's going to be part of that meeting for the evening. For instance, here, I'm going to just bring up something really simple, the approval of the town council minutes. I can click on it, and this is what the end user gets. And they can enter into that, so when the council and the town manager are talking about the meetings, they're not trying to write them down. They can click on that agenda item that's right there as part of the whole portfolio, as I call it. The video is pretty well standard in a lot of video on demand systems that are out there. What is unique that is chapter markers. And I don't think it's unique just to Cablecast. It's just, I'm going to be very candid. A lot of people do not use chapter markers because they might feel they're stressed for time. And I'm going to be very candid. Or you just don't have the motivation, or you may not have the skills because you're a one-man band and you're trying to just run your operation as is. I want to assure you that of everything that we've done with all our channels, with everything that we covered, chapter markers are the most important thing for both our school district as well as our town government. What we do is we can give end users the capability to go to any part of a meeting to get quick access. And that's what people are looking for today. I'm going to give you an example. Somebody who wants to see the town manager report, and his report comes at the end of the meeting, can quickly just click on town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll start with our COVID-19 update that we've been doing since we were last in this room.
So that's pretty well standard. Our town manager always starts off what's going on in Bedford, what's going on with the COVID situation, et cetera. And this allows people to quickly access and get to the information that they demand. And also what I can do, I can actually click on that, copy that link, because when we have planning board meetings, and it might be a fourth item that is contentious that might go to court, we normally have attorneys or those that are pro or those that are con. In the old days, we used to send them a DVD, or we used to send the full file and then they would have to go forward. Now all we do is copy that link, that portion of the meeting, and send it to them. We don't even charge anybody anymore. It's that simple and easy. The same way with our citizens, we just send those respective links out to them. Chapter markers are something that is we're repeatedly praised for, from both the superintendent, the school board, and I know I repeat myself on this because the town council, they're the franchise authority. They're the ones that allowed us to go from 4 to 5%. It's not only dealing with Comcast, it's also dealing with your franchise authority, who says, all right, we think this is an operation that is well worthwhile. Let's increase those fees. And so, yeah, you need support on both ends. One unique thing about chapter markers is that it's just not restricted. And I'm just going to move this over a little bit here so I can see my, yeah, where are we here? I can also use it for something unique. And in the time of pandemic, and in time of everybody isolating, we had a situation here where we had a 3-day graduation. We broadcast it live, and it went, we have 29 advisories, 15 students in each advisory group. So what we ended up doing, and if you can see it now, that is our graduation. And Colleen manages all this. She uploaded the schedules for the graduation for 3 days. The graduation total, when we put it together, when I edited it, was 3 hours and 47 minutes. Nobody wants to sit through 3 hours and 47 minutes. However, if you're in Mr. Lynch's advisory, you click on Mr. Lynch's advisory. And there you have the graduation. Everything's fantastic. Walking across the stage, you're seeing all the action, and it was well received by everybody. So it was really something that we were pleasantly pleased to discover that, hey, you know, we can use chapter markers beyond government meetings. And believe me, we got some great feedback on it. So at this stage, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Colleen, because I want to assure everybody it is a simple process to upload the data and to chapter market it. And I'm going to turn it over to the expertise right now, because she has the expertise. It's Colleen. Colleen? I'm gonna close out me. There you go.
Okay. So on the screen, you'll see the meeting that Bill just had up. I duplicated that meeting just to show you how we added those chapter markers in. You can set up the chapter markers ahead of time if you'd like, and just update the times after the fact. Or what we do is when we have part-time people that cover our meetings, when those people are going through the actual meeting, we ask them to write down a little note on the agenda of a timestamp, and that gives us an idea of where to put those markers in after the fact. So for the first one, it's at 1:45 is where I'm going to add that. So I go over here and I scrub through till I get to 1:45. And sometimes you have to just let it play a few seconds, get it right on the right spot. And okay, so then you pause it and you add the chapter marker. So this one is called Bedford Cares Proclamation. If there's more information that I want to add about it, I can put that down in the body here. The title does have a limited character space, so sometimes that might be a little bit abbreviated, and then I put the rest in the body. A trick that I've found is we have the agenda sent to us ahead of time. I keep that on my screen and just copy and paste, and that makes that easy as well. So then I just put it in, and there it is. If I found out that, oh, that wasn't the right time, I can go back and hit edit, and oh, let me just show you something. So it's easy. You can just say, oh, okay, I went a couple more seconds. Hit edit, use player position. It will just take that time for me. I don't have to retype it in. And then you just continue to scrub through and go to each individual item and just add them in. Or like I said, if you wanted to have them already in there, you can do that and then just go through and edit and use the times for all of them. So the next one is Children's Environmental Day. And then if I wanted to add in the more description at the bottom, I do that. And now I've got my marks in there. After that, you just publish it. And once you've published it, it will show up over on the website the way that Bill showed you originally. So it's a very simple process. We find that it doesn't take that long at all. Like I said, the copy and pasting has helped to eliminate all of the typing, and that's about it.
All right, thank you, Colleen. So I want to add that you know, in addition to the way that Colleen is chaptering, there's also a functionality that's built into Cablecast that enables you to chapter a meeting live as it's occurring. And you can do that in the studio, or you can do that or at your facility, or you can do it on the through the internet also. So it is possible to like preload the titles of the different agenda sections and then mark it as the meeting occurs. I mean, of course, it takes a staff person to do that live while it's happening, but that is an option also within Cablecast. Okay, now if I can figure out how to get to the right place and share my screen again, that's what I'm going to do. Are you guys seeing my screen?
No.
No, okay. How am I going to do that? It's this, I'm going to have to exit full screen here. Okay. Just a second, we're getting close. Am I sharing my screen now?
Yes, I see your
All
screen.
right, very good. So I'm going to quickly run through the video servers and a couple of other new things, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So the Vaio video servers came out a year and a half ago, and they do several things that our prior server lines did not do. They natively ingest and play out RTP, RTMP, RTSP, and HLS streams. And again, the streams come into your server. They're treated like any other source and scheduled that way, just like you schedule a program or any other a live event from your routing switcher. You can schedule the stream that way. The servers scale all the way up to 1080p, and they play literally every file type. Ray cringes whenever I say that, so he'll give you a disclaimer when he comes on later, but they really do. They play broadcast file formats. They also play a lot of the odd formats that come in because people are doing things that are primarily built for the internet. And the Vaio servers handle those very, very well. I'm showing here the Vaio 4 Plus, which is 4 in and 4 out. And it is actually an unbeatable cost per channel. You could run an entire PEG station with this one server because it would do PE and G and a bit more. So I'll share this. There's a link to our whole server line right there. Our baby server is a Vaio Lite and the Vaio Lite CG. The Vaio Lite, it's not rated. It's a fixed disk system. It's got one content drive, one system drive, but it's got 2 IO and with a bulletin board software included, is right around $10,000. So if you're on an extreme budget, you can launch a station for about $10,000. And it's also available as a CG only, and it can run up to 2 channels of CG, and can do that for less than $6,000. Okay. The other thing about the new Vaio line is when we launched that, we also launched Cablecast CG as a software add-on. So you don't need a separate box and you don't need a scan converter anymore. Everything runs directly from the Vaio video server. And so each channel of bulletin board is just a $1,400 software add-on. So that also brings the cost down. It also decreases the complications of having other machines and scan converters. So it's much, much more efficient. And it also enables squeeze backs. Because everything's coming out of the same SDI output, you can squeeze from video to bulletin board and back and forth. You can put the video in a corner, a section of the screen if you would like. On our website, we have pre-built channel designs and templates. They're available as free downloads. We have about 6 of them up there. There's a link to where that is, but it's a way to get off the ground running very, very quickly with a beautifully designed channel. You can come in and customize it with your color scheme and logo, and you're off and running with a bulletin board. I like to show this bulletin board from Falmouth, Massachusetts, because they do a couple things that in the way that we intended them to be used. So there are levels of authorization built into the Cablecast CG, so you can basically designate what people can do, and you can even designate what area of the screen that they can do it in. And so they basically have given a workshop to some of the community organizations and authorized them to create content in this particular zone here. Now it doesn't get scheduled until they approve it. But when Falmouth approves it, it's already done. They didn't do any of the work. They just approved it, and up you go. And those bulletins rotate through this zone. This they keep for themselves. It's showing the schedule here, but they use it for all kinds of things. Down here is normally a Twitter zone for them, but they also have it hooked up to pull from the emergency alerts from the National Weather Service using something called the Common Alert Protocol, and which will basically put up an emergency message without them doing anything. But also because you can run Cablecast CG from your home, you don't have to go into the station to announce a snow day. You just do it right from home. Almost done. Just a little bit more about us, and then we'll do a little Q&A right on schedule. So we've been building systems for decades. We've been in this business for a long time, and we're continually developing and refining our product. We've actually grown quite a bit in the last couple of years. A couple of years ago, we took Tightrope Media Systems and we separated into 2 divisions because our product lines diverged enough. Digital signage is its own business, and pay automation is another. And since that time, we've grown. We're up to about 1,000 customers across the country. We've added a couple of developers. We've added more support staff, more sales staff, and we're still growing. And what else? I think our pricing is the best in the industry, and if you would like that proven to you, get in touch with us. Our support is awesome. I can say that I've seen it improve steadily over the last couple of years, actually probably over the last 3, 4, 5 years, but we do surveys at the end of every support case, and the satisfaction rate is 99%, which not quite good enough, but still pretty good. Support is free with Cablecast, and you buy the product, we support it, period. We don't charge you for that support. You get a year's worth of software upgrades for free. After that, if you want to upgrade to the latest version of the software, there is a cost, but support is free. It always has been, and we plan to continue that. I, you know, I, we have this saying that that basically the saying is that you can we'll take a server back, if a server automation system back, if you don't like it, with just very few questions asked, and like within 90 days. And we don't publicize it very much because frankly, I've been with the company for 13 years. It's happened once. And ironically enough, it's because they really wanted the ability to mark a file in and out in the UI. So now maybe that customer will turn around and buy it again. And then we even have flexible purchase plans, kind of like a lease. But if you are a strapped PEG operation and you can't afford the capital investment, we can work with you on that too. And that is it. So I'm going to put a link to this in the chat section, and I guess open it up for questions at this point.
Steve, people can, before, I've got a couple questions for you, and maybe I can kind of bat this around with other folks as well, but please put your questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom interface here. Although we've got some chat material for you, we want to be able to get to the questions through Q&A, so go ahead and do that here in the time we've got. One of the challenges of the past year, I think, has been trying to integrate remote locations of various types and basically educate various levels of users into video technology and video interfaces that they've never actually faced before. And I'm just kind of curious about what you're seeing with your products and your customers in terms of the flexibility and like the variety of types of setups people have. I get the sense that, we often talk about our organizations being hyper local. The case is that just about every facility has its own sort of quirks and charms, if you will. And I'm just kind of wondering about like some of the things that you run into as you're trying to adapt your products into the very, very specific situations. You've given us a couple here with Billerica and Bedford, but like some of the challenges that you run into and some of the ways that you've been able to meet those challenges.
Ray, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great, Ray. Go ahead.
All right, awesome. So what I'll say is like, it's probably not talked about enough, but Bill Jennings actually can probably attest to it a little bit, is that the internet and our infrastructure in this country have not grown to meet the challenges of the pandemic. So while, before March, everything was working great, internet, people watching online, VOD, like once everyone starts remote learning, working from home, doing video conferences all day, the internet just is struggling with it. And so we've had more kind of support and customer assistance dealing with faulty internet, like your internet is just not scaling to meet demands. Like what was once before a stable connection was not previously before. So we've had to work with a lot of people, like kind of making trade-offs essentially. For a city council meeting, you might not need full HD coverage, like scaling down the video quality a bit and having good audio is a better compromise than bad user experience trying to download an HD meeting. So those types of things. And just, Steve mentioned we launched a new product, but a lot of our work in the past, like 6 months or so has been kind of adapting our product to deteriorating internet, making sure more and more traffic as much as possible gets routed through CDNs and off of our customers' internet and things like that.
Well, and you're using it, and you're using also the internet to be able to get sourcing in, right? So
Yeah,
with the ability to be able to take in sources rather than a traditional video source necessarily,
yeah,
right?
and so the other thing that we've kind of found in our market is it's you know, with PEG is, while the cutting edge is great, you know, there's all these like broadcast protocols for doing low latency IP, video delivery with like, you know, all sorts of complicated acronyms and protocols like Zixi and Quick and all that kind of stuff. We found that RTMP works best for most people. It's a 15, 20-year-old protocol, but it's ubiquitous and has lots of support, and everything supports it. It's easier to plug and play than trying to go cutting edge. So we try to recommend to people to, you know, when you need to adapt to new technologies, kind of pick ones that are easy for you to kind of get into and that the existing equipment already supports. The worst thing is to invest a lot of money in new capital equipment and then realize you don't have kind of the technical expertise on hand to support that capital equipment.
So we did get a question in from Ross Rowe.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about connecting to Roku and other OT&T services?
Yeah, sure. So we have so if you have our automation system and a live streaming server or a video on demand server or both, we have this service called Cablecast Reflect, which basically it's a reflection service that takes your live stream, it takes your VOD files, and it basically sends them up to the cloud and distributes it from there. So Ross, if you have, again, if you have our video server, a live streaming server, a video on demand server, and Reflect, we actually throw in the OTT services for free. So anybody, and if you want to see what it looks like, just download on Roku or Apple TV. Amazon Fire is in the works, but on Roku or Apple TV, just download the Cablecast ScreenWeave app, and it will show you all of the people, and there's over 100 of them throughout the country that are distributing their content on Roku and Apple TV, and that's all it takes. And happy to talk to you offline about the whole process.
On that note, related, we're gonna take a second just to award our prize winners. And I had, just to be impartial, I had Kayla pick 4 random numbers for me out of our attendees here today. So I would like to congratulate Keith Droll, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, for you're winning the $50, one of the $50 Amazon gift cards today. Jim Palmer, also, you're getting a $50 Amazon gift card. And the winner of our Roku streaming stick, our future Cablecast ScreenWeave watcher, is Morgan Butler. And the winner of our Apple TV is Ross Rowe. Ironically, you actually were already picked for that before you asked that question, but appropriately, now you can check that out on your own Apple TV. So congratulations, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And I'm going to throw it back to Steve and Ray and Mike for questions.
Great. Let's see if we have any other questions.
So, my question to you guys really is, my video just stopped there. Sorry about that. My question. See my headshot. Wonderful. My question really is about, you know, the ease of use for, you know, a small shop. So, like, you know, a little bit about setting up the product and basically setting it and forgetting it in some respects. And, you know, I think probably the plurality of our members, probably 40% of our members, are very, very small operations in rural settings. So you run into some of those issues that Ray was talking about with the internet, for example. But, you know, how easy is it to be able to get a hold of you guys to be able to do that technical setup? Because my sense is that you know, folks are basically doing everything in their shops, so they don't have a lot of time to hang on the phone.
So I'll speak to, uh, I can give a very impolitic answer. Like, we spend way too much time helping
No, no,
people.
no. I mean,
You know?
but
Like,
I think this gets to this question of, not just the product, service, right? So,
yeah, no,
yeah,
no, no. So we have a support staff, actually a pretty large support staff. We have 4 full-time support staff, a trainer, and then when necessary, the engineering team kicks in. And so normally that doesn't need to happen, but as everybody was now relying on the internet, like Ray was talking about, and everybody was streaming, and that became so critical. Everybody jumped in and was helping people all the time, like all hours of the day, because those meetings happen in the evening too.
right.
And no, so I mean, so yeah, so well, I mean, I talked about a 99% satisfaction rate. I mean, we make ourselves available. I mean, we have set hours, but we do what we can to make sure that everybody is successful. And I thought where you're going was in terms of actual, how easy it is to program your channel and use the channel. Um, so a couple other things we do in that regard. I mean, we have training videos online. We have knowledge base articles. So there's a lot of, and then we have a user forum where people can also ask other users for questions, which is also something that can happen off hours. So anyway, so we have another question.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and answer that question and also comment a little bit on Mike's question. So
Okay.
the question is, can you stream from your server to Facebook or YouTube? And so the answer to that is not directly. We offer simulcasting from our ScreenWeave Live product. So ScreenWeave Live is what can take RTMP streams from things like Zoom or any kind of RTMP encoder, and that will go to Facebook or YouTube. Look in the next couple of months for some integrations between Cablecast and the ScreenWeave Live to make that happen. It's one of the things that we were working on heavily right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit and we kind of changed course to adapt. It started being apparent that not that many people were at their stations anymore operating live meetings out of their head ends. And so we kind of adapted to make going to Facebook or YouTube from remote sources like Zoom or any other RTMP source like a OBS broadcaster. That's what we focused on. And now that, like, unfortunately the pandemic's not over, but we're kind of all settling into a new normal. The kind of integration from your head end to ScreenWeave Live is something that we're working on next. To kind of answer Mike's question about kind of like what we're doing to try to make like life easier, especially for small stations. One thing that actually Sean Sayre from Pittsfield was on a webinar that we were doing the other day, and he kind of brought up a feature that we added in the middle of the pandemic, which was standby graphics for live streams. So live streams are cool. You want to take an HLS stream, RTMP, Zoom, a YouTube live stream. We try to add support for all of that. The big problem is that, sometimes you schedule it to start at 2 p.m. and the person operating the encoder for that live meeting doesn't start the stream until 2:05 p.m. And, what happens then? And so what we did was we added this feature so you could like put a graphic there saying like, city council meeting will start shortly. And what Cablecast will do is in the background, try over and over again to play that live stream until the live stream becomes available. So what we tried to do is replace you, the human that has a lot of things to do. We try to replace it with the software that will just sit there and try over and over again until it's ready to play the stream, and then we'll take it to air. And in the meantime, we'll put up that standby graphic. So it is like one thing that we're always trying to do, especially for those small shops, because a lot of us come from those small shops. I worked at a station in Portland, Maine that had 4 people on staff. We're always trying to adjust the features, tweak the product to make it take less of your time to actually use the product. We kind of want you to spend as little time as possible using our product. We'd rather you be doing other things.
Well,
serve the community.
And as I say, Ray, our most valuable asset is our people and the creativity that people can have on a daily basis. So the machines are there for a reason. And I would rather have the machines take care of those automated systems so that you can use your creativity and insight to be able to do amazing things in your community back home. We've just about run out of time. I've got a quick comment and then just another question for you all as we wrap things up. One of the untold stories of the COVID response really has been the innovation that's happened across the country at the local level, so that we're even accelerating our services. And what we've seen in terms of the poll that was just taken from American University and our informal polling with our members is that PEG channels across the country are doing extraordinary work, and they're outpacing their capacity to be able to serve their communities well. And you guys are no small part of that. So I want to thank you for your service to communities over the course of the last 6 months. It's been great seeing it. We see it from our other product partners, but I want to thank you all for helping communities across the country and stepping up to ensure that people can do their jobs well. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks. And let me say, like, I've been paying attention to what you guys have been doing. What you guys, I mean the access facilities, and it's pretty inspiring. I mean, the creativity that's been shown by all of the stations in terms of serving their community in new ways with technology that's existed for a while, but now is just thrust into use because of necessity. You all are doing some really, really fantastic things.
Well, we do it through partnerships. Thanks so much for the work you guys do. If people have questions about what's ahead for Cablecast here in the next few months, they want to contact you about ramping up services, where should they reach out to?
Just email sales@cablecast.tv.
And we also have a chat feature at cablecast.tv as well.
Fantastic. Well, we've run out of time, guys. I want to thank you all for your work and for helping folks across the country. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here on this ACM partner presentation. We'll have more as the fall continues, as well as workshops. These are free presentations. The workshops you actually have to sign up for. So go ahead and find out more about what's happening with our at-home learning across the rest of the next couple of months at allcommunitymedia.org. From everyone here at ACM, thank you so much for joining us here today. Have a great day.
Thank you.